This is my second call today. I had the mastermind group earlier, and now here I am with you, sitting in my mother's solarium, trying to find the light. But thank you for joining us. And Christine, I want you to take a moment and introduce yourself and what you do in the world to help people and inspire people to their greatest.
Well, first I just have to say I am so excited to be here. Thank you for including me. And I'm just going to say it now and get it out the way. I'll say it when she comes as well. Dr. Tanya, I'm super excited to meet her on video. So this is a brilliant trio. Thank you so much for that. Hi, everyone. My name is Christine L. Bowen, and I am not a fan of labels, but we use them so other people can understand our purpose here on Earth. So my main label is Ambassador of Love. Everything that I do, everything I say, everything I think, I strive to have that firmly rooted in love, and I promote that. I'm also a creative entrepreneur, and creative entrepreneurs are simply people who invest in their own creative talent as well as that of others, help others to really maximize their creative talent and ability. And last but certainly not least, I'm a media personality, and I chose that title because I love social. And I believe that we are here at this time for a reason, and that reason is to amplify our message. So I'm a huge fan of online, and I host a show called CLB Live, which I use as a platform to inspire entrepreneurs to infuse creative flow into their daily lives.
Beautiful. Thank you. So, Christine, why did you join us here today? When I put out the call, why did you come on board?
Well, as I said, I have a crush on Tanya G, just keeping it light and funny. But honestly, abundance is a word that I had to befriend, and I had to unlearn things that were programmed into my mind and learn anew what abundance really is. And I'm very passionate about this topic because even though I'm going maybe a little too far, but even though it's not money, it is tied to money as well, which we'll talk about. But I jumped at the opportunity because I believe this is going to be a really inspired conversation.
It is. Well, thank you for that. I'll explain who I am in the world. My name is Pamela Sylvan. I'm the host here today, and I am a professional publicist, as well as I call myself the Mojo Maker. I'm the host of Mojo Talk Radio, and I'm also now hosting a live weekly mastermind with those that want to get their PR and get themselves seen out in the world, but in a powerful way, authentic way. We use that word a lot, but it's true, and we're going to dive deep and dig deep on a weekly basis to get that done. So I called this group together, this trio together, because we have such fun out there when we're doing what we do, but also to share our journeys and what really works around this whole abundance key. We talk about this ad nauseum. It's the number one thing on people's minds a lot of the time when we're not thinking about maybe work or health or family, but it's always top of mind even when we're not really focused on it. And I wanted to sort of put a stake in the ground around this and tell the truth, and let's talk about what really works out there. Now, I really wish Dr. Tanya was here with us because she brings that whole love, peace, energy. She is a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine and has that really grounded sense of energy that pervades the world and pervades each of us. And she has a beautiful way of spinning that out there. So Christine, Bowen, and I will do our utmost best to keep this ball in the air until Dr. Tanya joins us. So thank you for all those that took time out to do this and spend some time here with us. And please, I think there's somewhere on here to type out questions if you have them, and we'll do our utmost best to keep those things flowing. In the meantime, Christine, I want to start off with your number one. I always like to go for the jugular first, you know what I mean? I want to find out where you have sort of held yourself hostage around the whole abundance question. We always find a place in our lives if we look back, or we might even be currently experiencing, where we hijack ourselves around the abundance question. hold ourselves hostage.
I wanted to also officially say good day to everyone watching. Thank you for being here. Looking back, for me, the issue was I was chasing the money first. When the awakening for me started to happen was in my network marketing business, my former, I should say. I was doing very well in my first year, made a whole bunch of money, quit my job, and found within 2 years that business started to decline. And I was just constantly setting those money goals. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's so much underneath that underlies that. But honestly, I was chasing the status first and nothing else mattered. And I never could get there. I was always struggling. My financial health was declining, but I just couldn't I was stuck in that zone. You know what I mean, Pamela?
I absolutely know what you mean. I didn't have a similar story to you. I left a marriage. I came out with nothing. And the only reason I came out with nothing at the time is that I wanted to go on and start my life, and I didn't want the hassle of the fighting. I just wanted myself, and I wanted to get out there, and I started out with nothing. And it was difficult. It was difficult, I must admit. However, the most difficult part of that journey was the thoughts I had about prosperity and my ability to sort of dive in there and take what I needed from life. And that held me up. The thought that I had about my ability to do it, my deservedness level, and it was okay to go do that. Because I know we grew up, especially if you've gone through the education system, thinking that we had to do things a certain way. And unless you stayed that course, making money, asking for money, or prosperity, it's not just about hard cold cash, about prosperity in any way. It wasn't something that you did. I didn't want to be seen as somebody that was selling things or asking for cash. I just assumed it would somehow land in my lap and all would be well. And I found out the hard way. That wasn't
Oh my
so.
gosh.
So that was my journey. I had no money. I had one potato days. I know I was so embarrassed to talk about that. I wanted everyone to think that it was going on, right? So I'd comb my hair, I'd put my lipstick on and go outside and tried not to show that I had no money. And that kept me stuck.
Yeah.
That kept me really stuck for a long time. And, this call is about 3 + 3 + 3, winning 3 techniques from each of us as to how we broke through those stories and find ourselves on the other side. And this is not about how to make $1 million tomorrow. There's way too many people that know how to do that way better than me. This is not what this is about, because whether you're making $1 million or $1 billion or anything in between, there's a thinking and a feeling and a DNA type of thing that has to go on to make it and keep it. And I think a lot of people miss that, because no use having $1 million and you're sick. No use having $1 million and you're unhappy and you're lonely. And really, nobody wants a stack of cash. We want what the money can do for us, right? So this is what this talk is about. What can we do to make sure that the prosperity that comes our way is real and bountiful and is working on our behalf? So I want to start off with you, Miss CLB. Let's talk about how you shifted your money story. How did you, and let me take up the word money. How did you shift your abundance experience, abundance getting
I like
experience?
that. Yes. It happened by divine intervention. I'm going to be really honest. Let me think. A little over 6 years ago, I listened to a teleseminar about personal branding. And I felt I was at a point, I was falling in love with social, and I felt I was at a point that I needed to have some guidance, some professional guidance about branding, even though I've been a visual communicator for many, many, many years. And I won a contest where I had 30 minutes of one-on-one time with this lady. And the first question she asked me is, "Who are you?" And I started to use all of my professional titles. I'm a network marketer. I'm a visual communicator. And she said, "Oh, that sounds great. Congratulations. But who are you?" And that started a personal, or a spiritual, I should say, journey. And it was through that process of getting to know who I am, learning that I didn't really love myself in the sense of showing myself compassion, forgiveness, being gentle with myself, things like that. I started to court myself. I started to date myself like we would date someone else. Sounds weird, but it actually helped me break through some of those blocks that I didn't even know were there in terms of how I spoke to myself and things like that. And through that process, I found the more that I grew is the more that life opened up for me. And I started to realize that abundance wasn't really transactional. It wasn't about how much money I did or did not have. It was about the value that I was placing on myself primarily and the people around me.
Very good. I like what you said about honesty. This is one area in our society where we tell a lot of either half-truths or just blatant lies about, because we want to be seen as we have it going on, as they say. And until I was able to tell my truth about my situation to first myself, now I was the first person I was lying to, and to people around me without, dragging a poor me story around. This is not about that. This is not about going victim. This is about just being real. There's nothing to be ashamed of in this, but we somehow feel that there's a lot of shame around this. We spend a lot of time trying to look wealthy. The brands we wear, the cars we drive, the homes, and a lot of that stuff is supported on shifting sand. So we're living under a lot of financial stress. Yes. I found myself in that position. So I had to be okay with where I was. I had to, where am I? I'm rock bottom. Okay, I had to be okay with that. I didn't hold up a placard card saying I had nothing. I didn't get on social media and tell everybody I was broke. I just had to, in my alone time within my own self, tell myself that, and then have to formulate a plan on how to find myself back to at least get back on the table, because I was underneath the table, and move from there. So I think this is what this call is about. What are some things that we can share with people out there who find themselves in a place much like maybe I did, underneath the table, and they have to get back on top and move from there? Or even if you find that maybe you want to shift your life or your business or whatever it is from where it currently is, and it might be in a really healthy and great spot, to the next level, because we can always grow, we can always expand more, we can always do better, right?
Absolutely.
So what else do you want to share with us to help those people move from where they are to maybe a different place? It doesn't have to be to the top of the ladder, but to the next rung.
Absolutely. What's coming up in my heart right now is a quote from one of my favorite mentors, Jim Rohn. And back in my network marketing days, one of the most popularly quoted quotes of his was, work harder on yourself than you do on your job, and you'll never work a day in your life. And it's a very true quote. However, I never saw it holistically. I saw it just literally. And what I realize now is it's a literal thing. Whether or not we're an employee, entrepreneur, whatever our professional background is or status, if we are in a constant, I'm going to echo what you just shared, Pamela, if we are in a constant awareness state of growth where we don't know everything, it's okay to be at rock bottom. And things like this, when we are in that place and we accept all of that, that's when life really opens up. And we have to face our truth. And as human beings, we are afraid, like you say, there's shame, there's guilt. We're afraid to face our truths. But I found that, especially through what I call divine connections, people who are there for a purpose to get us through a season, they're just there for a specific reason, or they're there for a lifetime. These are the people that help pull you out of those stuck states. And that's where I found my strength. When I was at rock bottom, which felt like forever to me, my divine connections were everything. They had the right word, the right time. They had no idea what was going on, but they were the ones that helped pull me through those phases and keep me in flow.
So basically, you're sharing with the audience that find people that will hold space for you as you move through this time.
People who will accept you for who you are. We're so busy, our egos, I should say, are so busy trying to, as you say, keep up appearances. And we tend to focus on those people who really, either they're not paying attention to us or they don't really have our well-being at heart. We need to not focus on those people. We need to focus on the people who are there for us. And as I said, from my personal experience, I really wasn't able to do that until I started to court myself. When I started to learn how to love myself, that's when I was able to focus on these types of people.
Nice. I'll pull out something that helps me get on the road to recovery around my place. I started giving what I didn't really have. One of the things where I found myself stuck was even giving from what little I had. It was, to me, couldn't do it. I only have, I'm going to use a $10 amount because everybody knows what $10 looks like. It's an easy one to visualize. If I only had $10, and I know all the prosperity laws talk about this, it's part of our religious ethos, is that what you give, you get back, your 10% tithing. We know it, we shake our head, we say amen, we go on about it. But when it's time to do it, it's tough when you look at it, because somehow we do not trust the universe with our last $10, now do we? The universe can do all kinds of things. It could birth cosmos and it can do all kinds of things, but my last 10? No. I had to finally break down it, because it was all that I could do, is to trust the last little bit that I had. And I had 10, that's just an amount I'm using. I took half of that amount and put it somewhere just in a matter of faith, and wondered what the heck I was going to do with half of 10, right? But in this day and age, what can $10 really do anyway? When a few days went by, all of a sudden, a little piece of business showed up. But before that, let me just even go back a little bit. Before the money started to happen, I had, and you and I know this person, he showed up and started talking to me. I would call him my $1 million voice in my head.
I love that.
Showed up. And you know who I'm talking about, right? Don't I? The $1 million voice in my head started talking to me. And the $1 million voice started talking in my head even before, as I was he was mentoring me. And I call him the $1 million guy. He's not quite that expensive yet, but he's tracking.
I think he's worth more than that.
But to your point, you have to have somebody there who can see who you are. He called me a Lamborghini that somehow slid off into the pit.
I love that.
And I said, you got that right, dude. And people will race by you without even giving you a second chance to say, hey, why is that car sitting off in the ditch?
Yeah.
Right? So when someone finds you sitting out in desert circumstances and says, hey, you, let's go, that's your first source of wealth. And then the second source of wealth is to start trusting. The money in itself isn't where you need to put your trust. It's what you do with it. And I have to tell you, that's where my work is. Stop trusting in the thing. Start trusting in the vibration that I'm sending out.
Yeah.
All right. I had to start trusting me, and then I was able to manifest the way that I've been taught, and the way that I've read, the way that I continue to hear and pound into my head. We hear these things, we give it a nod. Sounds good. Let me write. Let me do all these things. We do not practice. We do not believe the stuff we tell other people. And until I start to believe the stuff that I was telling and teaching and practicing it myself, that's when things start to shift. So that's one of my things. I'm still waiting for Dr. Tanya to find us. So she's a doctor. Something could have happened.
Check
so
our
we don't
messages.
know. So we'll keep moving.
Not yet.
Nothing yet. So she must have had an emergency call on something. But either way, for the listening audience, my first point is to really start trusting life. Life is waiting for us to show up in full trust with our stuff. It won't move until we make a move. All right. And I'm going to wait. I was just about to spill my second piece, but I'm going to go back to you,
yes,
Christine. And when we started talking, we were introduced. And that's really another thing that the $1 Million Voice in My Head did for me, was introduce you and I. And we started talking, and you introduced me to a really cool book. You want to tell me what that book was again?
You broke up just a little bit for me, so repeat the question.
Okay. Yes, the book. The first book that you told me about when we first started talking. Do you remember the name of that
Outwitting
book?
the Devil? Is it that one? Yes, by Napoleon Hill.
Yes. And
Napoleon
who wrote that book?
Hill. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And it was the book that he wrote and did not put out into the public because of how he felt the public would take what he wrote down. The name alone, a lot of people would have issue with. The man hit it on the head when he talked about, we have been captivated by a hypnotic rhythm that keeps us broke, busted, and disgusted. And most people will never, ever, ever clue into that, why they continue to be broke, unhealthy, and unhappy. All right. So if nothing else you do and get from this call, go get that book. And I would even urge you to listen to it on Audible. Walk and listen to what this man's saying to you, and get out of that hypnotic rhythm that does not serve you. There are hypnotic rhythms that serve you, but for the most part, we jump into things that don't serve us and keeps us stuck. I'm starting to preach here.
Preach on. I love it. That is my number 2 book on my top 5 list, and Kimberly Collins just said she loves that book. Yeah, it is nothing but the truth. It breaks it down from it's pretty near close to a biblical perspective without it being the Bible. Napoleon Hill was just an inspired human being. I love his work. However, you brought out a really great point, which that drifting with the devil, as Napoleon Hill calls it, or that hypnotic rhythm where we're constantly distracted, that is the struggle is real. I mean, distractions abound, especially in today's world. Between the issues we have to face, both financially, physically, relationally, I mean, everything on that spectrum is a lot to deal with. And then there's the financial piece that suffers as a result. Then there's social media, there's television, there's music, there's so many things to keep us off track. So many things. Just sitting here right now, as intentional as I am with being present in this moment, my eyes are still shifting. It's just everywhere. So for me, this is my second tip. The first was courting yourself, getting to know what all this is about. Very important in opening up or getting into alignment with abundance, because there's nothing to open up. Abundance flows everywhere. It's here, it's there, it's in this little stuffed animal. We just have to stay aligned. That's the trick right there. So for me, the one practice that keeps me aligned and in the flow is meditation. And that is such a powerful practice, and it's different every single time. Every time there's a new revelation or a deeper revelation or something I discover about myself or a question that I had that I've only gotten the proper answer through this channel of meditation. And whether we want to admit it or not, believe it or not, there is a greater force that keeps all of this stuff in motion. When I say this stuff, I mean the universe and everything that comprises it. There is a force. It's energy. It's love. Yeah. And that force, well, I should say it's energy that's activated by love. And so this force has everything in alignment. And then he's given us this key. I call this force God. And so other people may just call it infinite intelligence. Some people may just say it's energetic cosmos. Whatever the case is, when you are in that meditative state, we tune into a frequency that is in alignment with that vibration of nature. As human beings, we've been given the gift of thought and this creative ability, and because of that, we think we're better than the universe. And then we boo-hoo and run into a corner and in the privacy of our own home. And, oh my God, life sucks. Get into flow. Try it. There are people who say they can't meditate, but all it takes is breathing. That's how I started. That's how I taught myself. And just for this session here, I had my little meditative session. It was about 15 minutes. And I received all the answers I needed to have this conversation. All of them. So,
well, thank God that you meditated before, else we'd still be trying to figure out how to get on this call.
I know. I had to zen out just to think about get to this page. I was like, okay, what do I do? But it works. Meditation works, honey.
So, well, let me bring up my next point about what I had to do and now continue to do. I had to work with the end in mind, and I'll add a caveat to that, and expand what was possible for me. One of the things I'm working on is a list of 5,000 things to be, do, and have. And it was tough getting to 50. I couldn't think of anything more than 50 things that I want to do, be, or have. And I was challenged to do 5,000. And now I couldn't even do, 1/100th of that in any good standing. How I couldn't possibly see what would there possibly be on planet Earth to do, be, and have 5,000 times. All right? For a quantity of 5,000. I have to tell you, the more I expanded my thinking, the more expanded my belief, the more I started to get out of my box and my little corner in which I put my place. I called that corner the corner of the couch. The more I began to use tools at my disposal to help with my expansive thinking, the more things I got to think, the more things I got to see that was actually right in front of me the whole time and I missed. The more the list grew, the more every time I add to the list, the universe would give me something and I'd have to check it off, and I think, oh, now I got to go find something else to add because now 2 things came off. And it turned into a game. Now, you've heard that life is a game, right? And we take it too seriously and we make it tougher than it has to be. And I know there's some serious things that go on for people, health issues, relationship issues, and I don't mean to belittle any of that stuff. I have these things in my life too. But at the same time, if we were able to pull ourselves up a little bit higher, which, by the way, we are commanded to do, is to lift ourselves higher and look down at all this and see that it is a drama that we're in. It's a play. It's a game that we're in. And until we understand how to play these things well with the universal tools and laws that are always there, they don't change and shift. They have no respecter of persons. And until we understand what those things and tools are, we will continue to struggle. It's about education and finding the people and the circumstances that can enlighten us, enliven us, teach us, educate us, and fire us up to go out there and play this game the way that it needs to be played. We need more people educated in this way. We can go to business school and learn, microeconomics of the yin yang and get our paper that says that we know the book. But we've seen people at that level who are still struggling. It doesn't matter how much money you make. This is not about, he who has the most wins when they die. No, it's about how to spin something from nothing. It's about alchemy. I'm interested in alchemy. We were all born alchemists. But that part of us has been switched off so we can put our nose to a grindstone. You ever seen a grindstone, Christine?
Yes.
Well, man, I don't know who's putting their nose up to that, but let me tell you, they can't come away looking pretty.
Yeah.
But that's just it. The mass conversation on this planet is bust your behind, and at the end of it, hopefully you get a little check to retire on. And people are following that system, that old way of thinking. I mean, people are starting to realize it's no longer the way. But what is the way? All right. So my thing here is about educating yourself in the universal laws that are there for anybody. It's no respecter of persons to pick up. You don't have to belong to a special society. You don't have to belong to anything. Just go find the information. Plug into people. They're all over the place. I mean, there's me, there's Christine, there's all these people on the side here. I'm sure they'll plug in.
If I may,
practice.
the people who are here now with us, all of us together, it's not a coincidence. There's a reason for it. And that's what those are the types of things that I focus on. You know that I'm a huge proponent of connection. And I believe that it's a very important piece because of the guilt and shame that we tend to feel when we're focusing on our egos. We isolate ourselves emotionally from other people. And as a result, we cut off that flow of abundance, because abundance flows through to people and through to us and through us, I should say. And so us being here together is a part of tapping into abundance, because we're elevating consciousness, but we're also channeling infinite intelligence right now. And so there's certain aspects of what we're saying, if not everything we're saying, is coming from that higher intelligence because we're together. I wanted to mention a book that came to mind as you were saying to learn the laws. It's by Deepak Chopra, one of my favorites, and it's called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. It's a very quick, easy read. It's a type of a read that you meditate on and you keep it at your bedside. I have it on my Kindle, but it's a phenomenal read, and it really opens our eyes up to what true abundance is and how to tap into that.
Nice. What's something that you learned out of that book you can share with us here?
Yep. It's you know what? This is not a coincidence that I brought it up. It's been a minute since I've read it, but I love to bookmark and highlight pieces of the book, any book that I'm reading that really touches me. Here's one. In our willingness to give that which we seek, we keep the abundance of the universe circulating in our lives. So that spirit of giving, that is very important in today's world. I can relate that to social media.
Let's talk about that. I have issues. Let's talk about that. People don't see how their abundance mentality plays out in social media.
Social media, even though I think for the younger generation, putting myself in an older category, I gotta face facts, Pamela. But for the millennials, let's just say, I believe that they are understanding the culture a little bit more than our peers. And so what happens is when someone jumps online, it's all about me, me, me. This is an opportunity for me to put my stuff out there. Buy now, click here, do this and you'll get this, and all these tricks and tactics and methods. And I'm not saying that they don't work, but are they true abundance? Is it lasting results, or just those quick hits that you can get and then it flops and you move on to the next thing? To me, that's not true abundance, because there's a lack of fulfillment there. To me, abundance is true fulfillment. So on social, what we should be focusing on, and this is perfect timing because I'll be talking about this next month, we should truly be focusing on giving to others. And we can do that in different ways. We can do that in the content that they are sharing. If it's something that we find value in, share it. If it's something that we find value in, comment. Don't just like it, engage. Because when people are flying across our timelines, again, it's for a reason. There may be something that stands out to us, and that person is there for a reason. Dr. Manny says it great. Shared value and exchange is the key. It's so true. So our focus should be on how can I uplift the other person. And I think you do a brilliant job, Ms. Pamela, with your social presence, in terms of sharing content of others. But it's a total give mentality, and it's about relationship. Most people are looking at closing the sale. One of my favorite quotes is Bob Berg, where he says we should first focus on opening the relationship. The closing the sale comes at the end or in the interim. It's not really the end, because relationships never end. We should be seeking people who are thinking like us, who have the similar values as us, who are accepting who we are, the good, bad, and the ugly. Yes, you can meet these people online. Pamela's one of those people for me. Dr. Manny's another. Roy Montero. I have so many divine connections online. So that's the key, is remove the focus from yourself, focus on others, aligning yourself with the right people. The rest happens naturally.
Okay. I just realized that I had to press something to watch the chat. I was watching the viewers. And I see you responding to people. I'm thinking, who is she talking to? Realizing my view wasn't on the chat feed. I'm thinking, oh my goodness. So to all those that are having issue with us we're not responding, I'm not seeing it. So apologies for that. But the point of it is, let's go back to social media. One of the reasons that I do what I do online is it says social. I work in the world of media, and for the longest time, media was really a one-way conversation. You buy some airtime, you do some print buys, you put it out, you throw it out there, and for the longest time, there were only so many channels that people could see things. There was ABC, NBC, CBS. Up here in Canada, we got a few more other stations. There's only a few respectable newspapers and magazines and associations and things like that. So you buy within those spaces, and that's where the masses were hanging out, right? Now that social media has come in and has segmented the viewership in such ways where the big threes and the big fours don't have all the eyeballs anymore, we have an opportunity to, like no other time in human evolution, to really get out there, signal, share, connect. It's no longer a one-way conversation. For the most part, it's still being treated as a one-way conversation. All right? It's social media. It's not media. It's social media. How many people are actually connecting at that level with people? Are we sharing other valuable pieces of information coming from our friends and helping them get their workshops out there, get their products, get their thoughts out there? Or are we just liking it? We even do that. This is an opportunity for us to help and be helped. But we're not doing it. We're not. I know there's still a lot of fear out there. People don't want to show that they align with a certain thought or a product. And I do get that. We still have our privacy to consider. But for the most part, if you're going to participate in a way that maybe every now and then, maybe every Monday you share something important to help somebody out. Whenever you have your thing, Christine, I take a moment to listen, give it a like, give it a share it through my radio page, because I know the work it takes you to do this and the energy you put out to do what you do. So I respect that.
Yes.
All right. So when someone else does it for me, you know what? They're listening. And I know the energy it takes to get someone's attention on social media, because there are a million things. There are a million cat videos to process, right? I'm just trying to be funny. But you know what I mean. So when someone takes a minute, stops, and pays attention, that's abundance. To me, that's even more important than money in the moment, because you've noticed me and you took a moment and said, I think you're so valuable. I'm going to tell the people I know what you're doing.
Right. And we should be proactive with that. Bob Berg calls it go-givers. I call it the golden rule. It's one of my core values. Is being proactive and putting others first. It should be our focus, both online and offline. And most people, we are so absorbed in our own worlds, our own goings on, what we want to have here and now. And it's a frustrating state. I've been there. And since I've transitioned to this mindset and applied it both online and offline, it has just been, the opportunities that present themselves are far grander than anything that could have conjured up in my head in terms of results. Yeah.
And just to talk about a little bit about being social on social media. There's somebody on live chat that I just had to block and take off because there are always going to be those energies that need to be destructive on there. So I just took this person, I don't know if it's a male or female, and it doesn't really matter. They are, creeping around looking to infuse themselves with destructive conversation. That doesn't help anything or anybody, and least of all themselves. So he's now blocked from my channel because this person is not there for anybody's good. So if you're going to inject yourself into the conversation, bring it so it moves the conversation forward. This is another prosperity piece. If people wonder why they get stuck, it's for reasons like that. If you have nothing good to say nothing or step off to something else. So, all right. So it doesn't make sense. So let's move on. All right. So but you know what? It's just something to remember in all the things we do in all spaces. Everyone's doing the best they can, trying the best they can. Support, share, educate, teach, and keep it moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay. I just heard back from Dr. Tanya. She's with patients. And plus our East Coast, West Coast translation of times. I think she thought 4 o'clock her time because she's out in Vancouver. So we missed her, but things happen for a purpose. We'll connect up another time and have another Tanya FaceTime. But at this point, this is about us sharing how to move past those places that keep us stuck and blocked and experiencing our prosperity and our gain. Another place or piece of thinking that got me stuck was deservedness. Deservedness. Who was I? What did I do that was so important or good to receive abundance, receive money, receive anything good? And so there was a pattern developing in my life, and no matter how good I was at what I did in my job or how educated I was, it didn't matter. I still found myself with that story in my head, and I didn't realize the story was there until somebody pointed it out to me. So we need the mirror of other people to see the stories that we tell ourselves. And it was a huge story. I mean, that story was like stuck in my skin, right?
Yeah, I can relate to that.
So I had to start putting, my brother, he was also a very good help at this. He would say to me, why don't you start putting yourself in an environment of wealth? And I would say, but I have no money. So that was, see how that went? He says, you don't need money. He says, you can go to any of the most expensive restaurants in town and go in there. And then I would step in, but I have no money. He said, no, you don't hear me. He says, can you afford coffee? I said, yeah. He says, they serve coffee. All right. Go in there and sit down and have coffee or some peppermint tea, whatever you got to do. But you place yourself in an environment of wealth.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, the first time I went in there, I felt uncomfortable. So right away, I knew where I was in my ability to feel comfortable around wealth. No wonder I was having trouble and I was struggling. I was keeping it from me. Okay. It took me about 3 or 4 times going into this place for peppermint tea until I started to feel comfortable and felt deserving in that space. And then I started practicing that more and more in other places. All right. Until it is not even a thought anymore. So we have to practice the feeling of wealth. I think it's assumed that if we don't, that we had to be born knowing about money and wealth. We had to be born feeling comfortable around wealth, and so forth and so on. There are people that are very comfortable around wealth, and people who are born practically knowing about money because they're born into that environment. And for the rest of us, like myself, that had none of that going on, I had to learn it. And some of it the hard way, but I had to learn it. For some reason, I got it into my thinking that it was something I should have known, but didn't. And I onboarded shame around that whole piece. So I was encapsulated in shame. How did I not know about this stuff?
Yeah.
Right? And I was too embarrassed to ask about it. Right? So educate yourself around prosperity. There is an actual learning path around prosperity. It's not something that one day you walk under the apple tree and you get. Maybe. But I really do think you have to make a point of sourcing out people, mentors, good reading, courses, wherever you can put yourself in the way of prosperity thinking, prosperity knowledge, prosperity training, prosperity practicing, like growing your 5,000 list. You have to do it. And the more that you grow internally, the more that thing in you, and I call it mojo, the more that mojo when you starts to spiral up, you see it on the outside. Stuff starts to happen.
Yeah.
People show up.
Yeah.
Money shows up. Opportunity shows up. You know? And every now and then you can still look at the cat video, but still put yourself in the way of understanding. Do you have a third and final, Christine, before we start winding down the conversation? And Dr. Manny says, society is filtering out mouth breathers incrementally. I love it. You know, this is the type of conversation that needs to go on until people start to get it in the inside. We can read all the books we can. We can carry around as many books on the topic on our Kindles as we can. But until we start to actually live it, it means nothing. It means nothing. And even I'm not an expert in this stuff. I'm not. I talk as if I'm not an expert. I'm a student of life. I'm a student of prosperity. And I hope to graduate into the next level, you know, every moment of the day, every day of the week, every week of the month, every month of the year, every year of the, you know, the century and the millennium, until, you know, it doesn't matter. I won't be the same person I won't be the same person next year, or even tomorrow, based on what I'm doing. Knowing people like you, Christine, and we always have this conversation in our mouth.
Yeah.
Right? You want prosperity, speak it. Speak it as if it is. All right. And we don't have time to talk about affirmation work other than speak to yourself. And I'm not talking specific things where you say I'm a millionaire and your monkey brain says no you're not, and then you go into a battle around it, and I know a lot of people do. But start speaking what it is you want to experience. So Christine, how do you want to finish up? What wonderful thing do you want to share with people? We were honest on some things. I really wanted to come out here and tell people, you know, a little bit about what I experienced.
Yeah.
I'm not coming from a place of knowing what it's like to be a millionaire. I'm not. I had my one potato days. And I'm kind of even carried it around like a mantle now.
Yeah. My third, let me just add to that, since you shared it. Most people are fronting. That's what we need to remember. Most people are fronting. They are pretending till they don't even know what the truth is anymore. And if we focus on that, we will remain stuck. So the self-growth is critical, is number one for me. Number two is meditation, tapping in and aligning ourselves with creative flow. And the third and final for me, was that Dr. Tanya coming up? Oh my God. Okay, the third and final for me is be patient with the process. It is a process and it never ever ends. And that's one thing I had to learn as we say as human beings, the long and hard way. But I don't think anything is long and hard. I think everything happens so that we can learn from it. There's no testimony without tests. So we have to be patient with this process, because as we brought out, hopefully through this conversation, is that most people, we have to unlearn, reprogram, and align ourselves with abundance and the flow of abundance. And that is a process. I started the process when I was 40. So I had to unlearn and defragment 40 years of programming. And most of us, we want that to happen like now. And what I've learned over the last 6.5 years is you never stop learning. So the process takes us to different levels, as Pamela said, in our flow of abundance. And as we go on and we continue to grow, we continue to surround ourselves with the right people, we continue to meditate, we continue to love on ourselves and honor ourselves and why we're here, the abundance, like I said, it's already around us. We are in alignment with it. Oh my God. So that's my third tip.
Hey, Tanya.
Hi, can you see me?
I can see
I'm
you.
so sorry. Please forgive me. First time using this app, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So,
Well, we can see you, we can hear you, and that's all that's necessary. Tanya, thanks for joining us.
Please forgive me. Time zone problems. I'm so sorry.
No issues. There's never any mistakes. So thank you for finding your way here. And now that you are here, I would like you to introduce yourself to the viewing audience, who you are and how you hold space for people in the world.
That's
okay?
So sweet. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Tanya G, and I'm a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine out in Vancouver, BC. And I love to hold space for people, all kinds of people in all transitions of their lives, from children to seniors. And I only have one mission, and it's to love. So my main purpose is to inspire people to love. And thank you so much for having me on this show for such a short amount of time. I know we're talking about abundance, and I had come up with all these great ideas on what I wanted to share from my heart about abundance. And do I have one moment to just share?
You have more than one moment. It'll go on for as long as you need to go on, because what you have to say is important. So please.
Well, can I just say hi to Christine?
Yeah.
Hi, Christine.
Yes.
And nice to see you, and to Pamela. Thank you to everybody out there. There were 3 things I wanted to share about abundance, and there's abundance of physical vitality. There's abundance of love that comes from an emotional perspective, and there's abundance that comes from spiritual, which is infinite. And so those are the 3 levels of abundance that I wanted to bring to the conversation. And, you know, a lot of people come in to see me and they're void of this abundance in one or all 3 of these areas. So, you know, when it comes to physical, biological abundance of energy, it all comes down to breathing. Are we breathing effectively? The breath cultivates the fire. The fire is what creates movement, and movement causes energy to burst and expand, and that's abundance to me. So I don't know if anyone's mentioned about the breath. Without the breath, we expire. So the breath is a key component to cultivating abundance and to maintain your level of abundance if you feel the vitality already. The second thing is emotional love. Without this cultivation of love, what do we have? Like, what is abundance? Abundance is feeling that deep peace and expansion that has to happen with the element of love. And so, I mean, I can go on and talk about love and how that is in itself the power of everything. And then, of course, there's spiritual abundance. It's infinite. And that's really in connection to your divine self. That space, I believe, in your heart exists, your spiritual aspect of who you are. Your unique spark of divinity that resides in your heart. So you see how it all is connected? The physical, the breath, the heart, love, spirituality, it all flows right in. Connection to the divine. To me, that is true abundance.
Well, you know what? You're absolutely right. And until we sort of move everybody out of their head and into their hearts and bodies around what true abundance is, because, you know, we when we think abundance, prosperity, we think money, cash, taking care of our stuff, buying stuff. When they get to you, Tanya, they're pretty broken down. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Pamela. I think she's muted, maybe.
I don't know. She's moved out of the spot.
Oh.
And she had a good run there, too.
Mm.
It's probably signal problems.
She looks like she's having connectivity issues.
Yeah, because she's frozen. I stepped away there. I had to get my plug back into another socket, but I'll have to try and get her back on here. I think her call was dropped. But I missed a little bit of what she said there, and I'm sure it was really around you have no abundance unless you have the full triumvirate going on. Tanya, can we hear you?
I'm outside my building.
It's okay. You had a really great last piece finishing up there. Can you share that last piece again? I said something about if you have no abundance in those three areas, you really do not have true abundance. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It seems like you can't see us. Can you see us? Can you hear us? No. But you know what? We're going to finish up the call because we don't want to make everybody's life crazy at this end. But you know what? She came on. She said what she had to say, right? She got her point across around abundance. And as a physician of traditional Chinese medicine, and her focus and her platform is around love, she's trying to let us know here that we can work as hard as we want to work in our businesses and our lives and collect as much cash as we could possibly collect. Until you have it going on spiritually, emotionally, and physically, you do not have real and true abundance. Am I getting that point across well, Tanya? Okay. So we have been on air for the hour, I would say. Tanya, do you want to close off with a really strong point for our listening audience?
Yes. I'd like to say just a few things. Love has to be our power and our legacy, because when it all comes down to the end, that's all we leave behind. If we want to talk about abundance, be abundant in love. Give, because abundance of love is infinite.
And that really draws everything else you're looking for, doesn't it?
And forgiveness.
Yes.
Well, you're forgiven. There's no forgiveness necessary.
I love you, ladies. I love you. You inspire me deeply. Please forgive me for this short sharing.
It's as it was to be. No worries there. Christine, please. What are your final thoughts?
I, of course, echo Dr. Tanya's words, also being an ambassador of love. In addition to that, I want to expand on what she shared about us being a unique spark of the divine. That, to me, is our creativity. That's something that we have been gifted that no other species on this planet possesses. It is a beautiful gift. I believe that when we find the courage to tap into and nurture that creative side of us, our thinking and in what we manifest, that is true abundance. That's what I'm learning to experience now. So if there's anything I could share is to own your creative spark, own it, because that is where your abundance lies.
Nice.
Agreed.
Nice. Absolutely. Ladies, thank you. you. Thank you so much for joining me here. And, I'll finish up and say that my true abundance and my experience around true abundance has been falling in love with myself. Accepting myself. That was my journey, continues to be. And the more I fall in love with me and find other people to party with me in that space, I'm truly, truly abundant. There's no question. No question. And I mean, look who I'm hanging out with. I mean, do you doubt it, right? So, having said that, are there any questions or last moment thoughts from the listening audience that might want to add anything or a question or anything before we sign out? Okay, well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us here today. And the abundance question is, like I said, ongoing study. It's about community, finding people who speak the language, who can help you on your way to understanding, like Dr. Tanya does with her clients and her patients, like Christine does with her people and her tribe, and like I do, and like, there's just so many other people out there in the same sphere doing things. Connect, build community, grow energetically, love other people, love yourself, and just let's get this done. I mean, when you get this done, money just chases you down the road. We got to flip it over. We've been taught one way, and it's the hard way. Let's make this easy, right? So, ladies, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We'll connect again.
Much love.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.